The movement of people from the time 1750 through to 1901 has impacted how we treat others today enormously. Let's start before slaves and convicts were even moved. But why were they moved? It all started with the Industrial Revolution in the mid-18th century in Britain. It was the textile industry to boom first, with the first forms of sewing machines being used. Britain was importing cotton from America, but America was running out of people to collect the cotton on the fields. That's when Britain came up with the idea that would change the future forever: slaves. Fast forward 30 years, and England was having trouble storing all of their prisoners because of the Industrial Revolution. There were so many people in the city and not in the more rural areas. Therefore, there were not enough food being produced to feed everyone. People were hungry and poor and would be jailed for stealing something as small as bread. Prisons were so full they even stored people in hulks, but eventually they got full too. Lord Sydney came up with the idea to form a colony in Australia. This country was chosen because of the opportunities it provided because of the flax and timber trade routes with China. The trip from Africa to America was horrible. It took anywhere between 6 and 14 weeks, depending on where the voyage started and ended and depending on the weather. Conditions were terrible in the hot and airless compartments below deck. The stench from human perspiration, urine, blood, and vomit was putrid. Disease was common due to unhygienic conditions, and death was between 10 and 15%. The food supply was poor, and when the slaves did get food, they didn't get much of it. Slaves were occasionally brought above deck to breathe in the fresh air, and on some ships they were even forced to dance. The slaves had no way of knowing how long the voyage would take or what was in store for them, as the British did not speak the same language, so it's understandable that because of the conditions that they were in, they took their own lives. Some starved themselves, or some jumped into the sea when they got a chance. Others chose to revolt. Evidence suggests that 600 slave ships' revolts were attempted. Most were unsuccessful. However, there were 26 successful, with the slaves taking control of the ship and taking it home to Africa. We know about how slaves were treated through their diaries that they've written. The journey undertaken by convicts at first took over 6 months, similar to slaves. Convicts had little sanitation and hygiene. Because of this, disease was common. Scurvy, dysentery, and typhoid were the greatest threats. On rare occasions, convicts were allowed above deck to wash themselves, but if they misbehaved, they were flogged, shackled, and kept below deck for the rest of the journey. The convicts were fed better than the slaves, as the food production in the colony increased. It was not long before there were more food in the colony than there was in Britain. The last part of the journey was the worst for the convicts, because they were forced to stay below deck due to the wild storms on the Southern Ocean. One way we know about convicts is through songs sung and passed down through generations. Slaves have helped form a non-racial America. African slaves drove economies of the New World colonies. Their labour helped build the infrastructure of the region and the riches of European nations such as England and Australia. European domination of the slave trade allowed easy access for the inexpensive labour, which in turn allowed European powers to exploit the resources of the Americas for 300 years and formed the world that we are in today. In Australia, the reactions to convicts from non-convicts significantly shaped the 19th century. Firstly, the dehumanisation of convicts created a distrusting police force that was without the kindness of people. When the police force treated free travelling workers on the goldfields the way they treated convicts, the support grew for symbols of fighting against authority, such as the troubles of bushrangers, Ned Kelly, and Eureka Prison.